Alrighty, so here's an update. Now that I'm covered with asphalt undercoating, I got the bottom here patched up like I mentioned before, but I also got some panel bond and some seam sealer, painted that all on, then did a coat of red oxide primer, rattle can, threw that on, self-etch, and then did the asphalt undercoating out of Canadian Tire. I mean, if it's good enough for Fitzy, it's got to be good enough for me. So there's a little bit of noise canceling and also some sealing capability there as well. So I'll give you an underrun of the body now that this is all sprayed. I don't think I'm going to do much more to it, actually. I'm going to be basically just adding stuff to it, axle and whatnot. So we'll go underneath here. The light. This may show more issues, but I have another can if I need to do some touch-ups, so we'll see. Let's go under. So the reason I went with the asphalt is I was scraping off some of the original asphalt stuff that was on here, and it looked like it just had the red oxide primer under it. So that's what it did. Red oxide primer and then asphalt undercoat. And it seems kind of what they would have done in an original situation. Got rid of all that horrible John Deere green under here. That was super annoying for me. Seam sealer in the fender wells as well. Got those all figured out. Seam sealed those. Got that all taken care of. Also went over and wiped everything with wax and grease remover. Sanded everything as well before putting on the primer. 80 grit. Just a couple of thin spots here. And asphalt. I don't know. Maybe I won't worry. I also put some drain holes in these frame rails. And I'll do some wax-based cavity sealant after. Get this all figured out, but looks pretty good. Better than it did, that's for sure. It was a nightmare before. Now it actually looks semi-decent. There's a few spot welds that I'd missed here and there, so I also did those. Some panel bond in some of those bigger gaps that after stitch welding, figured that would seal them up better, and then did some seam sealer. Anyway, should be pretty close to what it was in the factory, I believe, based on what I saw when I was scraping off the old upholstery underlay, or whatever they call it, underbody coat. Yeah, I was chipping that off, and there was the red oxide primer underneath. So once I get it on the wheels, I'll touch up these areas underneath the frame rack. But for right now, it looks pretty good. So now I'm set to start putting together, reassembling the rear axle and getting the new bushings and stuff put in the 4-link and the Panhard bar. Then once I get it on wheels, I'll start stripping paint off the outside, bodywork, things of that nature. Here, I'll show you what I've got. Different parts here. So parts wise, I've got the rear gasket for the diff cover. I've got the steering box rebuild kit. I've got some seat springs. This is the wheel rebuild kit, or the axle bearings and stuff rebuild kit. These are all the bushings. So that'll be good to get in. So I think I've got everything I need to put the axle back together and to get everything reinstalled underneath the car. I don't have my brake lines and stuff back yet. That's from Scandix, so they're coming from out east. I did find out what to connect this to, so apparently that's a vent line so that you don't end up with a bunch of pressure in the axle so it doesn't push oil past the seals. So you just attach a little hose on there and just dangle it underneath. So I'm going to do that with that. I got to clean this out, and still haven't decided if I'm going to swap out the bearings or not, because those ones on there are looking pretty fresh. Got these painted, so yeah. Load up bushings, get the axle on, and then rebuild the steering, get a rolling chassis, and then I can kind of work on the top part of it. Get the paint stripped, and I think I'm going to end up taking the doors and the fenders off. We'll strip the paint first, doors and fenders off, and then I can get that red oxide primed. Everyone's saying, well, from what I've seen, you can't trust the black coat on these panels from the factory, so I'm gonna have to sand those down. Anyway, so I've got the underside, I think, taken care of. So now I can start focusing in on kind of getting the rear axle done, get it into a rolling chassis mode, and then I can start finishing up inside of here. Take the fenders off, get paint stripped, coated, and then once I get things kind of covered, I'll start putting things back together. But yeah, it'll be nice to get it on its wheels again. But anyway, I guess we'll see how it turns out. So far, I'm pretty pleased with the direction it's headed. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get a new tank or have to rebuild this one, but it looks like it had been patched once already. So I'm probably going to have to get that looked after. Oh, here's something interesting off the rear diff. This shows that it was a true 123 GT. The tabs off the rear diff. This one shows that it was a limited slip diff, and this shows the ratio is a 4.56 to 1. But anyway, those came off the rear diff, and it does have the limited slip pack in there. I'm also going to get some new bolts. I think I'm just going to get some grade A bolts, grade 8 bolts from Bolt Supply here locally. And maybe that's what I'll do now, is kind of put together which ones I need and how many I need of them, and I can get that picked up. Probably, well, I got to work till Thursday next week, so Friday or something. But yeah, there's a little update. Oh, here's another bit. You know, the rear proportioning valve on the rear brake setup. So I was able to turn this piston, like I'd mentioned earlier. It was able to turn it, but I wasn't able to. I was hoping that I was going to be able to get this brass thing unscrewed out of there. Well, it started turning, and then I looked at it closer and thought, oh, I wonder if that whole thing's a piston all in one. And I think that's exactly what it is. So the spring and valve in here still work. And I've got a rebuild kit coming for the rear proportioning valve. I'll probably have to remake this bracket because it is super thin and bad. But I'm contemplating putting that back in rather than picking up a different proportioning valve. I'm potentially will end up regretting it, because a new proportional valve that I could place up near the master cylinder and adjust with a valve, like right from the thing, like Willwood makes them, or Summit Racing, I can pick one up and then just run a continuous line to the back. I feel like that would probably be the more reliable option. But I got a rebuild kit coming, so I guess we'll see. I'll stick this on, and the brake lines I have coming are designed for this proportioning valve setup. So we'll throw it in there and see and go from there. But yeah, interestingly enough, that did come out. And yeah, it does look like in here there's a seat. There's like a little edge there that this kind of rests against. Yeah, anyway, I was able to pull it out with some needle nose pliers. These ones, actually. Once I got it freed up, I was able to sneak it out of there. So hopefully that'll free to move and work as it needs to. Anyway, that's a little bit of a catch-up. I'll reconnect again when some progress is made. Possibly I'll have that rear axle and stuff in next time I do a video. I also will be replacing seals on there, and yeah, new bushings and all that. So yeah, it'll all be good. Anyway, talk later. Strong Assumptions, out.